have in our staff, because we've added a lot of new faces lately. So Covenant staff, please come forward. And while they're coming forward, I'll say there are two staff people that are not here right now. One of them was David Kershaw. He was here this morning. He's the one that got us together with Daniel, okay? But he had something where a family, they're doing a celebration of life, and he had to leave and go to that, certainly. And we also have Carla Hudgens on staff. And Carla's an old friend of mine from Trinity, Utica. She was the organist there for many years. And she got a call. Her mom, Dorothy Sproul, I don't know if any of you know who that is. She was organist at, I think, Guardian in Dearborn? Atonement, thank you. Atonement in Dearborn for many years, and she's on hospice right now. Well, Carla got a call last night, or yesterday, and said, it's hospice on the phone, get the family together, we gotta have a meeting. And when's the meeting? Saturday, 10:30. So that's where she is. So, can we take a minute and just give a prayer for Dorothy? Lord, you have everything in your hands, and please, we ask you to watch over Dorothy, watch over the family, help them to make God-pleasing decisions on her life. And whatever the case may be, if you bring her home, we know she's going to celebrate eternity with you. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I've got this whole gang next to me here. Stephen was turning away here. Now, you guys all know who I am, right? Steve Werner. This is Stephen Carpenter. We are the co-founders of Covenant Financial Group for a few years now, as a matter of fact. And we just keep finding more and more wonderful people to work with us. Tina, who's been with us from the beginning, really, right? Yeah, has been with us for quite a while. And Wendy has joined us recently. She is on the reception desk, as Carla is as well. And it makes more sense if I go all the way over to Lisa, and there we go. And Lisa is also on the reception desk. Lisa and Wendy and Carla are all switching up. And it's amazing because they all have very unique skills, and they really do. They blend together so well. It's really cool. We're so glad to have them. They're the new people here. And the big guy, Scott, who's been around for a few years, I think you guys have met him before, right? He is one of our specialists that's working very hard in a lot of things. And one of the things he has just accomplished, he is now an enrolled agent through the tax program that's associated with the Internal Revenue Service. And that is no small accomplishment. They're very hard exams. And that's what leads us into being able to give you tax advice and actually do tax planning and tax returns for the 2022 tax year. So we are growing and expanding, offering things that we think are very valuable to us. And last but not least in the lineup is Kelly. You probably hear a lot on the phone from you guys from Kelly and Tina, but you're also going to hear a lot as time goes on from Lisa and Wendy and Carla. So that's our great staff here. See, it's a really cool thing, and this is going to kind of lead into Pastor Curtis, who's going to come up and tell us something about his ministry. The radical generosities. What do you think about being generous? Oh, I'm going to give a few bucks here and a few bucks there. Well, that's the easy part. Anybody can do that, right? And a lot of people do. And not that it's bad, but there's so much more to it. What about your time? That's a really, really tough thing to agree to do, is say, you know what? I'm going to go there, I'm going to help with this, and I'm going to help with that. You're rolling up your sleeves and you're doing that. And it's a wonderful benefit from that. But he has another one too. And he says, here's the real thing that makes generosity very radical. And that is giving of your emotional involvement. And that is the tough part. When you see people who are different than you, who don't behave the way you do, it's too easy to look at them and say, man, they're not living a good Christian life or any of this kind of stuff. But you know what? Look at Jesus, what a model he was, man. He loved people where they were, what they were doing, whatever. And he had that emotional involvement with them. So that's just my way of encouraging you guys that there's a lot of great stuff to do here, and that is exactly why we have, excuse me, that's exactly why we have Pastor Curtis and his wife Sue here. They have a ministry down in Warren, around 9 Mile and Van Dyke area, called Harvest Time. And we are supporting them. We're looking for ways that we can do that. And when you got the invite, that's one thing that we had. They were saying, you know, if you want to give gas cards, it's great. We got a little red bin over on that picnic table to collect those. But we also have some cards that we have been able to purchase through Gleaner Life. Gleaner Life is like our funding organization. We do a lot of stuff from them. And all of a sudden I realize I'm looking through my notes as we never figured out a good time to do this, but I guess we might as well do it now. So Pastor, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about Harvest Time.
You didn't say he was He does. Yes. He just asked.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pastor Curtis. I'm from Harvest Time Christian Fellowship. We've been in South Warren it'll be 31 years next month. And we have it's a small church with a huge heart. We help a lot of people in South Warren and the surrounding areas. We have a food ministry that gives out more than 75,000 pounds of food every single month. And so when people say tons of food, we literally give out more than 38 tons of food. Not just literal, figuratively, not figuratively, but literal tons. And we provide people with hygiene products. We have some partners that help us with that. We give people clothing. We're just a church that has kindness. We've been in many people's homes and found out that a lot of kids just sleep on the floor. We've given out hundreds of mattresses to kids in their homes where they don't even have a bed to sleep on. And we've just been, the kind of like a light in the darkness in South Warren. Not a very way to get rich as a pastor. We're 100% volunteer staff. Nobody in our church receives any. We don't have a payroll, not even for the pastor. And so everybody that's there, they want to be there because it's just a labor of love. We're a 7-day-a-week church. We bless the community with food. Somebody's there every single day. We have people that are there every single day. In Macomb County, there's about 3,400 to 3,600 homeless people every night. Not in Detroit or other places. I'm talking about in Macomb County. Our zip code's the poorest zip code in all of Macomb County. And so the poverty level is pretty significant, amongst the people. So it's a poor church, and it takes outside resources to really make a ministry like ours go, because the people that come to our church just don't have the resources. There's tons of single moms. There's tons of senior citizens that are on fixed incomes. We're also a church that has dozens of little kids that look for food. And we live in America, but we have 10-year-old and 12-year-old and 14-year-old kids that have to scavenge for their own food. Either their parents have made poor choices, but it's not the kids' fault. Most pantries and most organizations, you have to prove income or whatever, go through a whole bunch of hoops before you can receive benefits or resources. But if a kid that's 10 or 12 or 14-year-old is looking for food, it's pretty legit. And so we give food to everybody. We don't have any boundaries. A lot of different ministries, well, you have to live in this city or this zip code or whatever. We serve everybody that comes to us. And in Macomb County, there's only about 200 shelter beds per night. So with 3,400 to 3,600 homeless people every night, about 1,100 or 1,200 of those homeless people are children in our county. And kids that don't eat on a daily basis, kids that And it's sometimes a hard population to serve. You might have seen the news reports. We had a storage container that had more than $20,000 worth of food in it, and somebody firebombed it 2 weeks ago, and just blew the whole thing up. And so, we lost over $20,000 worth of food that was intended to be given away anyways. And a couple years ago, we had one of our delivery vehicles stolen right from our church. It's just rough. I mean, you have bad actors and evil people that just do evil things, even when you're trying to do good. But that doesn't sway us. It was funny. I did a couple interviews. Everybody came to kind of descended on us. The Channel 2, 4, 7 did stories about what happened, and the most significant story was the little local paper that comes in your mailbox, and they picked up a line right at as the headline. It says, "We're not quitters." In spite of all the things that come against us, we've never even thought about folding or quitting. And when we realized what had happened, even with our arson firebombing, I just said, from the pulpit, we found out Sunday morning, I said, whoever did it, we just forgive them, but we got to move forward. We got to figure out how to restock and regroup and rebuild, because one evil event or one bad event is not going to stop us. We're not quitters. And we have the tenacity, because we're filled with Christ, just to keep doing what we do. And we've had people come along and strangers come along. We used to get some food from Forgotten Harvest multiple years ago, and Forgotten Harvest, they had new management and new programs, and they decided not to bring food to us anymore. But we hadn't seen food from them in a number of years, and they seen the news story. And Tuesday morning, before our food distribution, they brought one of their big trucks with 3 pallets of food, just to bless us. We didn't even ask for it. We just prayed to a great big God that we have this great need, and if we don't receive food, we won't have food to give. What's unique about our food ministry is not only do we give out canned goods like most pantries, we're probably the biggest pantry in all of Macomb County, and not by design. But we serve more than 1,500 families come to us every single month, and a lot of people, they wouldn't have food if it wasn't for us. And so it's just not an option to not do what we do. And when you see, tears in little kids' eyes, how can you tell them you can't have food? And then a lot of the homeless people we interact with, we have backpacks that we give them that have a blanket and some hygiene products. So even if we can't offer them a place to stay, we can offer them, some things that can make their life a little bit better. And then we give them homeless food that has like Snap Tops, where they can easily open a jar of peanut butter and crackers and get protein, tuna that has Snap Tops instead of needing a can opener. I mean, you don't think about what you need in terms of being homeless until you're in that situation. So we try to accommodate people in every dimension. So we have specifically food for people that are on the streets that they can use, that they don't have any difficulty, and they can still be able to feed themselves. And like I said, we engage people every single day at our church. My wife's on the board of McRest, the Macomb County rotating shelter team. Between the Salvation Army and McRest, like I said, there's only about 200 shelter beds total in Macomb County. And if Child Protective Services finds out that a family's homeless, they'll take the children. And it just causes more pain for parents that are not able to care for their children. And one of the big issues is just the societal breakdown of the family. More than half of the children in America are born to unwed parents. And a lot of times, it's not the children's fault, but it's our responsibility as the church and as Christians to step up and do what we can to bless people and help people, no matter what their circumstances are or how they got there, to realize what their circumstances really are. and try to bless them and help them to a better place. And really, that's what we're all called to do. How do we help people in their current situation get to a better place, get to stability, get to a place where they're self-sufficient? And a lot of times, they don't have ID, so they have challenges in getting a job. They don't have a permanent address, so they can't even order ID. And so we help people with tons of those kinds of things. And, getting ID, getting a social security card. A lot of things you just take for granted because you have a stable place to live. But when you're living on the street, most of the times you've lost everything that you have. And so, some of these people are dealing with chronic homelessness. And a lot of the landlords in the pandemic lost a lot of money to renters, so there's just not even a lot of places that people can even find for rent anymore, even in poor places like South Warren. But my wife and I, we moved to South Warren. I used to live in Sterling Heights. She used to live in Macomb Township, and we moved to where we serve. And happy to be there, to be amongst the people that we call it a privilege to serve. And there's just nothing greater. So,
Thank you so much, Pastor Cruz. What a fantastic ministry that is. That is radical generosity.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
Well, we're going to do the easy part right now through the resources we get through Gleaner Life. We have decided that we are going to help those people that are served by getting a whole bunch of gas cards. So many people pull up there and they say, I don't have enough to get to work and back. So hand them a gas cards. We got a whole pile of gas cards. We made one of those silly little checks like this. $500 worth of gas cards to you guys. So there you go. I just finished a cookie. Truth be told.
wait a minute. I told them I'm not taking confessions, so I don't know.
Oh my. But there's my lovely wife, Allison, holding this little red container for gift cards or donations to Harvest Time. If you feel so moved, that's where they go. And as you heard, every dollar is a dollar that helps the people down there. There's, it helps all the way. So there you go. So thank you very much.
Thank you.